Hello everyone, Argsy here. Welcome along to another video for Farming Simulator 25. We're taking a look today at Universal Autoload by Loki79. Now this is a mod that was around in Farming Simulator 22 and is a very popular mod. Basically added autoload to pretty much any flatbed trailer that's included in the base game, and potentially some modded trailers as and when they were released and updated. And Loki's already working on bringing this through to FS25, which is pretty exciting. The version we're playing on is a development version. I think it's up to version 0.0.0.13 or 14 or something like that at the time of recording this video. So it still is in very early development, but he's making improvements to it each and every day, ticking off some bugs, and basically through people using the mod, able to test it, give them some feedback, and through GitHub share information on how to make it better for when it does officially get released. Now, of course, being a script mod for Autoload, it is PC only, unfortunately. So, sorry, console players, this one won't be for you. However, we do hope that there might be some Autoload trailers in the future for console. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyhow, let's dive on in. And now it is available on GitHub. Like I said, it is a development version, so there will be bugs, there will be issues and things like that. The FarmSim guy did a fantastic video on how to install mods through GitHub, itch.io and other sources like that. So if you're not familiar with how to install a mod from a third party, I suggest going along and having a look at that video. He does a great job at explaining all of that. Anyhow, we're going to dive on in. We're going to go and have a look in the shop, and as you can see behind me, we've got a huge selection of different pallets, containers, boxes, twine, bales, all sorts of production items and that sort of thing that we're going to have a look at how the autoload system all works. So let's dive on in. We're going to have a look in the shop first, go and buy ourselves a trailer, and then we'll go and have a play around with how it functions. So when you come into the shop, we're going to scroll down now. You'll click on category of flatbeds, and we're going to go and click through on one of these. And just the first thing you'll notice is, as it comes up here, it says autoload on the trailer there as one of the features. So it has automatically applied it. I haven't done anything other than install the mod into the game. Now, one of the huge changes, and this to me is massive, if you can see, and hopefully I'm looking on my screen, I can see it reasonably well on my recording on OBS. Hopefully you can see this blue box that is now sitting on the trailer. Loki's set it up so in the store you can see the extents of the autoload box. So this would currently stack to the height of this box that's on here. So fantastic feature, and makes it very clear what trailers have autoload. But not only has he made it customizable to be able to see that, but if I press my middle mouse button, once again, might be a little bit hard to see with the colors, but on each of the sides of the cube, the 6 sides of this box, there is a little pink grab handle, and I can come in here, click on it with my right mouse, and I can actually drag that box and make it bigger forward, or I can make it smaller as it sits on the trailer. So if you wanted to overload the trailer a little bit, you didn't have any height restrictions on your map, and you were a careful driver who wasn't worried about being overweight and toppling over, being too top heavy, then you can go through and make some adjustments there on the height. So fantastic feature. As soon as you click on the middle mouse button, those grabs disappear. You can come back in and obviously orbit around. Of course, you can orbit around at any stage because that's the left mouse, but a fantastic idea, and I like the way it has been executed here. So it's great to see this mod being brought to life even more than it was in FS22, new features coming through. So we have a look at that trailer there. I just want to go and pop out. It does work on all of these ones as well. See, once again, this one's actually configured at the very small low load at the moment. We can come in here, drag that up if you want to load it a bit higher. Now I'm just going to exit out of those ones because I wanted to show you it on the low loaders, because I thought the low loaders were quite an interesting idea with this. So a low loader here, like the Load King, you'll see immediately it does actually have 2 different boxes for the 2 different deck areas, the upper deck and the main deck. So I was kind of thinking, how would that be practical? Well, I wonder if you were to come in and slide this one all the way to the front, maybe even make it all the way down, so there was really no chance of that being used. You could squeeze it all the way in to one side as well. Would mean you could run a sprayer or a tractor with a seeder or something like that to get out to your fields, and you could use the autoload on the front to, say, pick up your fertilizer or your liquid herbicide, your seeds, all of those kind of products that you might want to take out with you. So it becomes a little bit more practical from that sense. You can still use the drop deck on the trailer, you can still load something on the back there, but you've got the autoload up the front. So I thought that was quite a cool little idea. Whether that was his intention or not with how it all works, I'm not sure, but it was pretty cool to see. So we're going to jump back out of there. Other things to look at, because I hadn't saved that configuration, if I come back in here, it is reset back to where it was. So we're going to just go through, we're going to buy one of these trailers. We've got more than enough money to do that. So we'll pick that one up. Again, haven't changed the configuration on it all. We'll go and grab ourselves a truck. We'll go and have a play with how the functions work. Right, so we've got the trailer all lined up here next to our product, and if we have a look up in the top corner at the menu, we see we've got a few different options. So obviously left shift and R is our start loading, so if I was to press that now, it would start grabbing some of the containers next to us. Now you can filter through what you load, so if we press O on our keyboard, we can load anything or we can load full only, and I'll get to that in just a little bit. We can change the container types we want to load, so if we only wanted to load Euro pallets, big bag pallets or IBC tanks, it would go through those. Now it's actually detecting what is in the trigger. Obviously you can see there it didn't have bales as an option for container type because there's no bales in the trigger. If we were to drive forward and park up next to those bales, they would be in there. So it's not just cycling through every possibility in the game, it's actually only looking at the possibilities you do have next to you. Unloading side, so we can flick that around, U to change that from left or right. Obviously not relative at the moment as we're loading up, but when you do come to unload, depending on how you're pulling up to where you are unloading, you can change the side you unload to. And then lastly, the option there for material type all, so we can scroll through that. We've got potatoes up the front in the bins, we've got seeds there, we've got square bale twine in the trigger, got solid fertilizer in the trigger, and we've got the liquid fertilizer in the trigger. So basically you can go through all of those right back to having all of them. A little bit hard to follow along there as that jumped around into the different options, but basically plenty of different varieties. So if, for example, we could just pull in here and maybe we only wanted to get the big bags, let's say we had fertilizer in two different forms, we can just come along and just grab the big bag. So we're going to hit our left shift and R on our keyboard, and that's gone and grabbed those big bags off the back here, and it's loaded those up and put them on the front, and it does automatically turn the straps on, which is fantastic. So the items are actually there. It's not a virtual theoretical auto load trailer like some are, where you get ethereal bales which have no mass or anything to them. This does actually have the product there, so I could unstrap that and lift it off with the forklift if that's what I wanted to do. So we've just picked up the big bag. Of course now we don't have any option for anything to load because our container was still set to big bag. So if we cycle through, you can see now we've got loading filter or container type is all, so we can start loading whatever we want to. So let's just hit our left shift and R, and this should pick up everything from the bale twine all the way down here to the seat. And there we go, you can see it's rearranged things just a little bit. We obviously weren't quite far enough to pick up that one load of bale twine there at the front, but it sort of rearranges things. Still working a little bit on some of the shapes, because as you can see, just looking here at the different sizes and shapes of things that we've got, and we'll get down a little bit further, we've got some longer planks down there to load up as well. So we'll drive forward. I'm using my controller, so it will switch between controls a little bit, but one of the other things you can't do, and in fact I'm going to do this with keyboard and mouse just so I can demonstrate, you need to be stationary to load. So if I come along and press our Shift R, it's going to give me a warning saying no loading allowed unless stationary, so that is there. Now one of the beautiful things here is our loading filter we talked about before, which is full only or any. So in this instance, if we go full only and we'll load everything up, we actually wouldn't pick up any of those boxes. So we've got that there. I'm going to press Shift R, it's going to pick up some of the bales, it should pick up the rest of that twine. No, it must be just out of the trigger. But full only was our only difference we had there. Everything else was all sorted, and it hasn't gone and picked up any of those boxes. If we change that back to O and take any, Shift R, can't load any more items of that size, so we're overloaded, we're too full. So I'm just going to back up here very quickly. Should have changed the size and made things able to stack a little bit higher, but let's just bring this up here. We're going to unload side left with U, and we're going to left shift and I, and it's going to unload everything there on the left, which means now we can pull forward, try and get close enough to everything, and we've still got our loading type as any filter, so any. So we're going to go full only again, Shift R, it's going to grab the bales and the twine. Now if we change that back on our O to picking up any type, and Shift R, it's also going to take the boxes. Now this is one of those examples of things not quite working out quite how they should. Easy way to probably fix that if we were to go and Shift I, unload everything, Then we'll go Shift R again. It's going to pick those up and put them in a slightly neater order, so there is some intelligence there around that. Then as we drive forward, just for argument's sake, we can come through here and load up all of these items too, and it's going to figure out the best place to put them. I'm not quite sure if I'd load my eggs underneath my wool. Fortunately it was under the cinder block, but there we go, we've got everything loaded up. So really easy to use, just works really well. Other thing to note there is on the right hand side it does show up what you've got on there, so things are easy to see and you can understand and follow along. Now the other beautiful thing is we can cycle through on our unload. So for example, I've driven into a trigger where I want to unload the bales. So we're just going to come back up here. Now it's going to work exactly the same type. So our material type, we're going to cycle through, we're going to find our silage bales, and we're going to left shift and I, and it's only going to unload the silage bales. Now it hasn't re-enabled the straps there, so we'll make sure we turn those on. Let's say we wanted to drive forward and we only wanted to unload, well that changed, that's our container type. So let's say we only wanted to unload, we could do pallets. I think everything's on a pallet, so it's probably going to unload that. So we're going to leave container type at all. We can only unload full only. So let's say you were taking some empty boxes out to a field, you couldn't just unload those partly. Might suggest that as a little bit of a feedback, that maybe you could have empty items that could be unloaded as well. I think this might be the only case where that would happen, but yeah, basically you can cycle through. Let's say we just wanted to unload our eggs, Shift I, and it's going to unload those there. So pretty easy to use. I've certainly I haven't had no real issues apart from just the odd time when you're stacking something up and the shape and sizes don't work as well, but exactly like I said, there is a huge variety of different shapes and sizes of pallets now, and Farming Simulator has certainly evolved with the additional productions through FS22 and then the expansion of those now for FS25. Things are certainly becoming a lot more dynamic, a lot more flexible, and a lot more requirements and considerations to be taken on board. So I think that's about all there is to share with Universal Autoload. Like we said, it is in development, so if you want to take the gamble and use a not quite completed mod, you can go and download it from GitHub. There's a link to that in the description. Just go grab it, give it a go. It is working really, really well, and I think will save a lot of hassles, a lot of headaches in the future, particularly if you're someone who likes doing a lot of bales, or potentially even getting into productions and doing a lot of those. Greenhouses as well, of course, it can pick up anything out of those. So there we go. I know Loki did also keep it relatively updated in FS22, where if any custom mods came out, he would try and add those in. I also I need to double check this, but I thought there might have been a way that modders could add support within their mod as well without Loki having to do it, but don't quote me on that. That would be something worth checking. But if you're a modder, certainly get in touch with Loki through GitHub and see how you can work together to try and get it on as many different mods as possible. So there we go, Universal Autoload by Loki79. It is in development, but you can download it and help give Loki a hand in testing out bugs and finding any issues that you might come through in your gameplay. So as always, hope you found that video informative and useful. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.